Shout out to Phil for today's theory. Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit from the Shire, bravely sought out and rescued his dwarven allies whom were captured by wood elves of Mirkwood. The wood elves were alerted by the raucous caused by the dwarves in their battle with the eight-legged creatures. The company of Thorin Oakenshield were then taken to the halls of the elves and questioned by Thranduil, the Lord of Mirkwood. They did not budge in revealing their quest to slay the dragon and were hence imprisoned within the dungeons of Mirkwood by order of the king. Bilbo, who had only wanted to help his friends, snuck into the Elven Kingdom with the help of the One Ring. This was a true test of his capability as a burglar. Once he was inside, he marveled at the halls of the Wood Elves as he sought an escape route for his companions. However, he soon realized this would be a difficult task, as the doors of Mirkwood were securely kept shut with the use of magic. Bilbo understood that this significant mission would require endurance, stealth, and creativity. Bilbo was sneaking around the Elven Kingdom, and to his astonishment, he discovered a very interesting thing. The Great Gates were not the only entrance to the caves of the elves. A stream followed under a part of the lowest regions of the palace and joined the forest river. The passageway was designed for the convenience of trade, which they had with the men of Lake Town. Bilbo knew this was their best chance of escape. The burglar who was hatching a prison break was suddenly cornered by the king.
I know you're there.
Thranduil had detected the essence of the burglar. He knew someone or something was there. Bilbo was frozen, reluctant to move. Not that he had the option anyway. His heart rate was now elevated, his breathing amplified. Thranduil closed in. He questioned the empty space a second time.
Why do you linger in the shadows?
The king gripped his weapon tightly. Bilbo felt he had no choice now, knowing that he had failed his friends. He motioned with his right hand, hesitatingly removing the ring from his left index finger. The halfling was fully clothed, yet he felt naked. He was alone and bare to the king. Thranduil pointed his sword against the halfling's neck and demanded the ring. Thranduil fought bravely in the War of the Last Alliance. However, he was not to know the great ring, which was gripped tightly in Bilbo's hand, was the One Ring. Menacingly, Thranduil raised his voice at the trembling halfling. "Give it to me," he cried. Bilbo reluctantly gave the ring. Thranduil snatched the ring from Bilbo and gazed at the jewel. His eyes were completely focused on the ring, although his right arm was firm and his weapon was pressed against poor Bilbo's throat. He was pressed against the wall and uncertain if he would live through the next few moments of his life. Yet, his primary concern was the ring. He was defeated. After what felt like an age, Thranduil suddenly averted his gaze back towards Bilbo. He pressed his sword slightly deeper into his throat. The hobbit could feel the sharp tip pressed against his vulnerable skin. A little bit more pressure and his throat would be pierced. With a sense of foreboding, Thranduil asked Bilbo his name, where he was from, why he was trespassing within his domain, and all that he knew of the company of Thorin Oakenshield and the ring. The halfling confessed all. He spoke of his dealings with Gollum in the pits of the Misty Mountains. In detail, he spoke of the attachment it seemed to have on the creature. Additionally, he declared that the ring seemed to make him undetectable. The halfling knew nothing more. He was reluctant to speak of his quest with the dwarves. After a long conversation, Bilbo was confined in the Woodland Realm prisons, amongst his companions. The quest of the dwarves to reclaim the mountain was over. They would be confined, long past Durin's day. Thranduil now possessed the One Ring. He was already powerful, yet he did not know the true power which laid within his grasp. This would mean Thranduil took possession of the ring in the year 2941 of the Third Age, and Smaug wasn't disturbed from his slumber. We can begin to see the effects which this has on the Middle-earth timeline. Gandalf, post his attack on Sauron in his fortress of Dol Guldur, discovered no sign of the company when he went in search of them in Dale at the Lonely Mountain. The wizard sought his fellow Istari member, Radagast, who had close relations with birds and beasts, to aid him in his search of the dwarves. Little did they know that they would be of no use. Since he last saw the company on the borders of Mirkwood, Gandalf then travels to the Woodland Realm to question Thranduil directly. Pleading with the king, Thranduil unenthusiastically agrees to the release of the dwarves and Bilbo. Bilbo, having never spoken of the ring to the dwarves, confessed everything to Gandalf. Having not detected the ring on Thranduil, who deliberately concealed it, Gandalf travelled to Minas Tirith from Bag End. After ensuring Bilbo had arrived safely at his home, the quest to retake the mountain was of no concern to the wizard anymore. Gandalf would arrive in Minas Tirith in the year 2942, 75 years prior to the canon timeline of 3017 of the Third Age. There, he studies the scrolls of Isildur to put together the pieces of the One Ring.
The writing, which at first was as clear as red flame, has all but disappeared. A secret now that only fire can tell.
The wizard calls upon the Dunedain to search and find the creature Gollum. Alas, he would never hear from them, nor Gollum, again. In the year 2943, roughly 2 years post Thranduil's possession of the One Ring, Gandalf seeks the company of the White Council before returning to Mirkwood. In the meantime, Thranduil had been strengthening his mighty army. The wizard is reluctantly welcomed by the king, whose greediness now mirrored that of Thorin once he reclaimed his treasure. The ring was slowly corrupting Thranduil's mind. Gandalf was ill met when he arrived. The wizard bowed slowly to the king, and then to the prince by his side, Legolas. Wasting little time with pleasantries, Gandalf immediately spoke of the ring, suspecting it was the one. Unlike in Bag End with Frodo, where he already knew it was the one. Thranduil scoffs at Gandalf, claiming, "You have no power here, Gandalf the Grey." All of the guards surrounding the lone wizard, including Legolas, draw their weapons. Gandalf looks around at the elven guards. Legolas paces towards Thranduil and cries,
Do not think I won't kill you. It would be my pleasure.
Gandalf gazes past the elf princeling. His eyes are directed towards the king. Standing tall, he asserts,
Do you think I would come in here in search of the One Ring unbeknownst to the lands of the West? I am Thranduil, servant of the Sacred Fire, wielder of the Flame of Arnord, and member of the White Council. If I do not depart these lands and return home, war will be held upon you from Isengard, Rivendell, and Lothlorien. What say you, wicked?
Thranduil paused in bewilderment. Clutching his right hand to his chest, he whispered, "The One Ring. Of course. How did I not know?" His glance shifted from perplexment to a confident smirk. "I will have war," he maintained.
And we're nine!
Legolas cried. Thranduil at the very least comprehended the purpose of his mission, knowing in his heart where Sauron's ring was located. The wizard, who had severely underestimated the ring's hold of Thranduil, murmured
So be it.
as he was swept off to be imprisoned, and Thranduil the warmonger prepared his troops for battle. I did get carried away a little bit here. The effects that this has on the universe would have obviously been quite complicated. The White Council would have summoned their armies to Mirkwood to negotiate the release of Gandalf and the ring. Thranduil summons his armies to fight, and we would see this epic battle between the elves of Mirkwood and the elves of Rivendell and Lothlorien. Thorin, who by now had completed his mission and recovered the Arkenstone, would summon the armies of the dwarves against Thranduil, leading to the overwhelming defeat of the Woodland Realm, and the death of the king and his son Legolas, who stayed loyal to his father. If I had the animation budget that I wish I did have, I'd bring this epic battle to life. For sentiment's sake, we could have had Glóin fight Legolas, which would have been really cool to bring to life. Eventually the One Ring would be obtained. However, the forces of the West would have been severely depleted, fighting each other as Sauron's armies gained strength, not wasting resources on unnecessary wars whilst the elves killed each other. As Elrond would have eventually obtained the ring after Thranduil's defeat, another council would be summoned, roughly 70 years before the Fellowship of the Ring timeline, and Bilbo would be the designated ring bearer, as he, Gandalf, and young Aragorn set out to destroy the ring. I do have big plans to provide animation style visuals to this channel, so I can bring to life fantasy battles and fan fictions for your enjoyment. I cannot stress the importance of your like, subscription and comment to help my channel's algorithms, so I can eventually provide this service to you. I hope you enjoyed this fan theory, and I hope you have a great day wherever you are. As always, my Middle-earth friends, Hanonle for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Lord of the Rings Theory. Namari.
Embrace the power of the ring, or embrace your own destruction.
Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king.